Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, life just keeps pushing you back? Like you're running on a treadmill, moving fast but going nowhere? I've been there, stuck in a cycle of frustration, doubt, and feeling powerless. But what if I told you that everything you've been struggling with, every barrier, every setback, was not because of what happened to you, but because of one simple truth you haven't yet discovered? Today, I'm going to share with you 3 rules, 3 powerful truths that completely shattered my old world and rebuilt my life from the ground up. These aren't just ideas or motivational cliches. These rules rewired my mind, transformed my emotions, and ignited a force inside me I never knew existed. If you're tired of living on autopilot, tired of feeling stuck or overwhelmed, then listen closely, because these 3 rules changed everything for me, and they will change everything for you too. I want you to picture a moment in your life when everything felt like it was unraveling, when the weight of the world pressed down so hard you couldn't see a way out. I've been there. Maybe you're there now. I was trapped in a loop of frustration and disappointment, asking myself, why me? Why does life keep knocking me down? I blame circumstances, other people, luck. I thought, if only something outside of me changed, then everything would get better. But here's the hard truth. Nothing changed until I changed. Not just on the surface, but deep down inside. It wasn't until I looked in the mirror and faced myself without excuses that the real breakthrough happened. I realized something so simple yet so powerful. It was never about what happened to me. It was about how I responded to what happened. This is where the entire game shifted for me. I stopped pointing fingers, stopped waiting for the world to fix me or give me a break. I claimed full ownership of my life. Every choice, every outcome, every feeling. Owning your life doesn't mean beating yourself up for what's gone wrong. It means acknowledging that you are the driver of your destiny, that the power to change your story isn't in the hands of others. It's in your hands. When you accept this, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the creator of your future. And that's a level of freedom most people never tap into. I want you to feel that shift with me right now. Imagine if every time life threw you a challenge, instead of retreating or blaming, you leaned in and asked, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? What's the part I'm playing here? Suddenly, those challenges aren't obstacles. They become stepping stones. This isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It means admitting where you've fallen short and taking responsibility for your role in your life story. But this radical ownership is the foundation of transformation. Without it, no lasting change can happen. Because if you keep blaming, you keep giving your power away. So what does owning everything actually look like in real life? It means owning your emotions instead of letting them own you. When you feel fear, frustration, or doubt, you don't run from it. You get curious about it. You ask yourself, why do I feel this? What's the message here? Instead of suppressing or ignoring those feelings, you harness them, use them as data to course correct, to refuel your momentum. It means owning your choices. Every decision, big or small, is a vote for the life you want. No more if only or I can't stories. You start choosing consciously, deliberately, knowing that those choices add up to the life you're creating. And it means owning your results. Success or failure, both are yours. When you stop blaming outside forces, you start learning faster, adjusting quicker, and growing stronger. Because every experience becomes a lesson. Every setback, a catalyst for comeback. I know this because once I embraced this rule, everything shifted. It wasn't overnight, but the moment I stopped giving away my power and started owning it fully, doors I didn't even know existed began to open. Life stopped happening to me. It started happening for me. This is the first rule, the foundation for everything else. Own your life, no excuses, no blame, just pure ownership. And that's when everything changes. Once I took full ownership of my life, I faced a new and challenging question. What am I willing to accept? Because Ownership alone doesn't create change unless you also decide to raise the bar for what you allow in your life. I learned something that shifted my entire mindset. Success and fulfillment don't come from wanting things. They come from refusing to tolerate anything less than what you truly deserve. Think about that for a second. You don't get what you say you want. You get what you tolerate. If you tolerate excuses, you get a life full of excuses. If you tolerate toxicity, you get relationships that drain you. If you tolerate mediocrity in your habits, you get mediocre results. This was a brutal realization because I had been settling for comfort zones that felt safe, but were slowly suffocating my potential. Raising your standards means saying no to anything and anyone who doesn't honor your vision, your goals, your peace of mind. It's a boundary, a non-negotiable. When I started doing this, everything changed. Not because the world suddenly shifted, but because I stopped shrinking to fit into a box that was too small for me. I stopped negotiating my worth. And raising standards isn't about perfection or rigidity. It's about respect. Respect for yourself and the life you're building. It's about demanding more from your thoughts, your actions, and your environment. When I raised my standards, I began to expect excellence from myself. I stopped settling for good enough and started chasing exceptional. And let me tell you, that's a game changer. There's power in knowing exactly what you will and won't accept. When you clarify your standards, you create a filter for every decision you make. Suddenly, every choice becomes easier because you have a clear benchmark. Should I take this job? Does this relationship fuel my growth? Does this habit push me forward or hold me back? Your standards become the compass that guides you through life's noise. But here's the kicker. Raising your standards also means raising your energy. It demands that you get uncomfortable, that you step beyond what's familiar. It's a challenge to the status quo inside you. It's saying, I'm worth more and I'm ready to act like it. That's why so many people resist it, because change means effort, discipline, sometimes sacrifice. But I promise you, the pain of staying the same is far greater than the discomfort of growth. When I committed to this rule, I started seeing results almost immediately. My relationships became deeper because I no longer tolerated anything less than honesty and respect. My work life transformed because I stopped accepting excuses for myself and others. My health improved because I refused to settle for habits that drained me. This is about creating momentum. When you raise your standards, you raise your expectations, which fuels motivation and keeps you moving forward even when the going gets tough. It's the fuel behind every breakthrough and every leap forward. So ask yourself right now, what standards have you been living by? Are they lifting you up or holding you back? Because this rule, this decision to raise your standards will take you places you never thought possible. And that's when everything changes. There's one truth that too many people overlook. Logic alone will never move you to action. You can know what to do. You can have a plan a mile long, but without emotion, nothing really happens. The real force behind every breakthrough, every success story, every transformation is emotion. Emotion drives motion. It's the fire in your belly that pushes you past the pain, the fear, the doubt. Think about it. When you feel deeply about something, whether it's excitement, anger, desperation, or passion, you move differently. You don't just think about change, you make change happen. And when I first discovered this, it was a game changer. I realized I had been trying to force change with my head, using logic, discipline, and willpower alone. But willpower wears thin. Logic is cold and distant. What really moves mountains is the emotional energy behind your decisions. So what does it mean to master your emotions? It's not about suppressing them or pretending everything's fine. It's about understanding your emotions, learning what they're telling you, and then using that energy as fuel. When you feel fear, don't run from it. Ask yourself what that fear is protecting you from. When you feel frustration, lean into it and let it spark determination. When you feel passion, use it to propel yourself forward with unstoppable momentum. I found that the moment I connected my goals with deep emotional reasons, my why, everything changed. It wasn't just about making money or being successful. It was about something bigger. It was about creating freedom, building a legacy, proving to myself that I was capable of more. That emotional charge gave me the power to keep going even when the path got hard. Emotion is energy. And energy creates action. When you tap into your emotional core, you tap into a well of strength that can overcome any obstacle. This is why people can endure incredible hardships or make impossible changes. They have an emotional reason that drives them beyond logic. But there's a catch. If your emotional energy is tied to pain, fear, or limitation, it can work against you. Negative emotions can trap you in a cycle of doubt and paralysis. So mastering your emotions also means learning to shift your focus, finding the empowering emotions that fuel growth instead of fear. It means conditioning your mind and body to respond with strength, courage, and belief no matter what comes your way. When I learned to do this, I stopped waiting for motivation to magically appear. I created it on demand. I became the master of my emotional state. And once I did that, I was unstoppable. Obstacles became challenges to conquer. Setbacks became lessons to learn. Every day became a new opportunity fueled by passion and purpose. You have that same power inside you. It's not about avoiding emotions. It's about owning them, mastering them, and using them to drive your life forward with unstoppable force. Because emotion drives motion. And that's when everything changes. After embracing ownership, raising my standards, and learning to harness my emotions, something remarkable started to happen. My life didn't just improve. It expanded in ways I never imagined. It's like once you unlock that power inside, the world begins to open doors that you didn't even know existed. The ripple effect of change is real. And it doesn't just impact one part of your life, it touches everything. I want you to imagine throwing a single stone into a still lake. The moment it hits the water, ripples spread out, wider and wider, affecting everything in their path. That's what happens when you commit to these rules. When you own your life, raise your standards, and fuel your actions with emotion, you create momentum that builds and builds until it touches every area. Your relationships, your health, your work, your mindset. For me, the first noticeable shift was in my relationships. When I raised my standards, I stopped accepting excuses or negativity from others. I started surrounding myself with people who inspired me, challenged me, and believed in the vision I was creating. And because I owned my emotions, I became more present, more authentic, and more loving. That created deeper connections that fueled my growth even more. And at work, everything shifted too. I stopped tolerating mediocrity, not just from myself, but from the environment around me. I became more proactive, more focused, and more determined to create value. The energy I put out was magnetic, and opportunities I hadn't even dreamed of started to come my way. When you raise your standards, you don't just change your work, you change your entire approach to success. Even my health transformed. When I realized I was worth more than unhealthy habits and constant exhaustion, I took control. I started nourishing my body with better food, movement, and rest. Not because I had to, but because I respected myself enough to demand it. That physical energy fueled my mental and emotional strength, creating a cycle of growth that couldn't be stopped. And here's the powerful thing. This ripple effect isn't just about external results. It's about internal expansion. Your confidence grows, your resilience strengthens, your vision becomes clearer. When you commit fully to these rules, your entire identity shifts. You start seeing yourself not as a victim of circumstance, but as an unstoppable force of creation. This momentum creates a feedback loop. Every positive change fuels the next. Every breakthrough builds your belief that you can create the life you want. You stop reacting to life and start designing it intentionally. But momentum only builds when you stay consistent. It's the small daily decisions, choosing to own your story, to raise your standards, to lead with emotion, to create the avalanche of change. It's not magic. It's relentless, purposeful action. So as you think about your own life, ask yourself, where can this ripple effect begin for you? What's one small step you can take today that will set off a chain reaction of growth and transformation? Because once the momentum starts, there's no stopping it. And that's when everything changes. Here's the truth that most people don't realize. Change isn't a one-time event. It's a process, a journey that unfolds over time, shaped by the choices you make every single day. The real power of these 3 rules isn't just in the moments you decide to own your life, raise your standards, and master your emotions. It's in how those choices ripple out and build momentum, creating a life that expands far beyond what you thought possible. After I started living by these rules, I didn't just see improvements in one part of my life. Everything began to shift. The quality of my relationships, the strength of my health, the clarity of my purpose. I found doors opening where there had only been walls. But here's the key. None of this happened overnight. It was consistent, daily commitment. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small, almost invisible. But as it picks up speed, it gathers more snow, growing bigger, unstoppable. That's how transformation works. Every choice to step into ownership, every refusal to settle for less, every emotional charge you bring to your goals adds to that momentum. The bigger it gets, the easier it is to keep moving forward. And here's what blew me away. Once that momentum builds, it doesn't just affect your own life. It impacts the people around you. Your energy changes, your confidence radiates, and suddenly you become a force of positive influence. Friends, family, colleagues, they see the difference and are inspired. Change becomes contagious. But momentum can work against you too. If you stop showing up for yourself, if you fall back into old patterns of blame, low standards, or emotional avoidance, that snowball starts to shrink, the energy fades, and the progress slows. That's why the commitment has to be daily, unwavering, and intentional. Living by these rules means embracing the long game. It means understanding that the most powerful changes are the ones that compound over time. No overnight miracles. Just relentless, focused growth. And the incredible thing is, once you get moving, the journey becomes exciting. Challenges become opportunities to prove your strength. Setbacks become lessons, not excuses. This momentum fuels confidence, resilience, and clarity. It helps you trust yourself in ways you never thought possible. And as you grow, you realize that your potential isn't limited by your past, your circumstances, or even your current skills. It's limited only by the standards you set and the emotional drive you bring to your vision. So ask yourself right now, how will you build momentum in your life? What daily choices will you make to own your story, raise your standards, and master your emotions? Because momentum is the secret to lasting transformation. And that's when everything changes. Here's something most people don't realize. Everyone lives by a set of rules. Whether you're aware of them or not, these rules guide your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your life. The problem is, most of us don't choose these rules consciously. We inherit them, absorb them from our environment, and let them run on autopilot. The question is, are the rules you're living by serving you, or are they holding you back? The power is in your hands to decide. You get to define the rules that govern your life. You get to choose what you accept, how you respond, and who you become. This isn't about creating more pressure or setting impossible expectations. It's about living with intention, clarity, and power. When I realized this, it was liberating. I stopped letting life happen to me. I started designing the rules that would guide me toward my vision, my goals, my highest potential. And that made all the difference. Choosing your own rules means stepping off the treadmill of default living. It means breaking free from habits and patterns that no longer serve you. It means asking yourself, what beliefs am I carrying that limit me? What standards have I accepted that keep me stuck? And then it means making a conscious choice to change those beliefs and standards. This takes courage. It means standing up and saying, I'm done living by rules that hold me back. I'm ready to create a new path. It's not always comfortable. Old habits want to pull you back. Doubts want to whisper lies. But the power of a chosen rule is stronger than any fear or resistance. When you create your own rules, you take control of your story. You decide what matters, what you won't tolerate, and how you will show up in the world. You become the architect of your life. And here's the beautiful part. Once you commit to living by your own rules, you start attracting everything that aligns with them. Opportunities, relationships, experiences, they begin to flow naturally because your energy is clear, focused, and unstoppable. But it all starts with choice, with intention, with the willingness to step into your power and say, this is my life, these are my rules. So I ask you today, what rules are you living by? Are they helping you grow or holding you back? Because the moment you decide to choose your rules instead of living by default, that's when everything changes.